Hi, everyone. Good morning. This is Erick Silvermoon with Inspiring Your Day Through Love. Thank you all for joining me today and for watching. I have the honor and privilege to sit with one of my personal favorite teachers, mentors, my personal spiritual guru, and a close friend, Flora Sage. Flora, welcome.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Definitely. As of May 1st of this year, Flora released a fabulous workbook entitled, I actually have it here with me, the 29-Day Moon Challenge, Your Personal Workbook for the Perfect Practice and Simple Esbat, which I love this book. So I would love to ask you, Flora, some questions about this new adventure of yours.
Sure, and it has been an adventure.
Okay, so my first question for you is, what was it that inspired you to write the 29-Day Moon Challenge as a workbook?
Well, in April of 2011, I released the Simple Esbat, and that was a really practical book. I really wanted something that was usable for everyone, and because there were so many books out there that were so complicated and had so much fluff and stuff, which I understand because that's what publishers want, a certain number of words and whatnot. And when weekly I would get requests from people to write a book similar to that about the Esbats. And in working with the Esbats personally for so many years, I realized that writing a book in the same format as the Simple Esbat really wasn't possible. And in my students' programs that I would work with them in the YAY program, which is, like the YAY Year in a Day program, I had them go through the 29-Day Moon Challenge. And this was actually something that I posted years and years ago on my Charming Pixie Flora channel on YouTube. And it was a challenge that I challenged everyone to do, and I even, kept the comments closed for the first 30 days so that people could actually do the process and then comment on it. And so what inspired me to do this was time and time again, I received email after email after email after phone call of people thanking me for the 29-Day Moon Challenge, because this really was that missing piece for their perfect practice. Because, the moon is something that, as an earth-based practitioner, we just follow. Yeah, it's just something, most practitioners know if it's, what phase of the moon it's in generally. But when you actually attune to the energies, to the ebb and the flow, that's when you can really see those little nuances in your practice. And in handing someone a pre-done book saying, here, this is what you need to do, or this is what I recommend that you do, even make a recommendation. This is a recommendation for the new moon or the full moon or the waning moon or the waxing moon. To me, that just didn't feel right. And so what inspired me to write this book was all those testimonials that I received, because I know that it worked for me. I know that doing the 29-Day Moon Challenge monthly works for me. And that's why I started to teach that and share that with my students and then my other clients and then my friends and family. And the more people that did it, the more people that actually sat with the experience and actually experienced it, they said, wow, and every single one of them had different attributes for different phases of the moon. And so that's what inspired me to do it as a workbook instead of an actual, here you go, here's what to do for each Sabbat, or I'm sorry, for each Esbat, because, it works for Sabbats, but it doesn't necessarily work for Esbats, in my personal opinion and in my experience. So that's what inspired me to do it, because each person that actually takes the time to do this process, they just have to do it for one 29-Day Moon Challenge, and they see exponentially the results. And then most are guided to keep doing it because of all the aha moments. And so that's what inspired me to write this book the way that I did, as a workbook, not as, here you go, this is what you need to do, or this is what you could do, or this is what I recommend that you do. Just simply because everyone is so unique and so special in their own practice and in their own right. And I really hate to say it this way, but this is how it's coming out. I really hated to bastardize the process of saying, here, this is what you need to do for this moon phase. To me, that just did not feel ethical. It didn't feel right, because I know from so many years' experience of doing this that even in my own practice, every year, every month, the energy ebbs and flows, and it changes ever so slightly, and the attributes shift ever so slightly. So being able to do this as a workbook, being able to do this as a personal journey and as a personal experience, I think gives it that, well, I know it gives it that special kind of oomph that everyone in this practice craves. And that's my inspiration for writing this book the way that I did.
That's awesome. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I know not everyone practices a specific path, but I do celebrate the Simple Esbats and the Esbats. For me, for the Sabats, I feel like it's more of a projection of my energy, celebration. And when it comes to Esbats, it's more of being still and allowing all that to kind of receive and be open to receiving that energy. In order to do that, you need to quiet your mind and quiet yourself inside. That doesn't really allow you to do that much when it's a Sabbat, because it's a time for celebration and honoring. At this time, Esbat is more of honoring yourself and allowing that energy to come through. So I could definitely see why having the book as structured as a Simple Esbat wouldn't really necessarily work in this case.
Right. Yep.
Perfect. Okay, so my next question for you is, what has been the hardest and the easiest thing about writing the 29-Day Moon Challenge?
Oh, that is such a good question. The hardest part has been struggling with my ego. Because I've been doing this work for so long, and because I've been working with students for so long, and having so many people sign up for my year-in-a-day program and having a lot of them drop out because they wanted to rush the process. They didn't want to take the time and do the work. They really wanted me to hand them a list of things to memorize and regurgitate for a test, and that's just not how I work. I give people the framework and say, here, this is a framework, work within it and discover your own truths within this particular framework. And a lot of people just, they feel that they don't have time for that because they want to rush and rush and rush. The easiest way to learn this path is to do it the slow way, because when you do it slowly, then it all just kind of floods in. And wow. So in that respect, my ego has been the most challenging part of writing this book, because ego says, well, you know, a lot of people are not going to take the time to actually do this challenge, so why not just give them recommendations to do for every single phase of the moon? You can give them example spells, you can have them do the spell stars, you can have them do offering stones, you can have them do the Simple Esbat and Esbat cookies, which I do have the cookie recipe in this because I love those cookies. Favorite! And it even works with gluten-free flour, just saying. So that's been the struggle, because I know that, you know, a lot of people write books to sell and a lot of people write books to make a lot of money. I write my books so that they're useful and helpful. And if I happen to make a lot of money with them, yay, but my goal is to help someone and empower someone so that they don't question what they're doing and say, is this right? Is this... am I doing it right? Oh, and that feeling of confusion is something that I never want anyone to feel when they work with my products and my books and anything. You can attest to that because you've been through several of my programs, that I try to make it as simple as possible without a lot of fluff and stuff. And that was the simplest part of writing this book, was because I've done this work. I've been doing the 29-Day Moon Challenge for so long. That was the simplest part, is just putting it down on paper and just letting that flow, and knowing that it's the simplest way to really create that Simple Esbat. And so when I was writing the book, I started the book as having the title The Simple Esbat, and oh, I'm going, no, because to me that felt deceiving to publish a book under that name, simply because the Simple Esbat was that destination book, was that, here you go, this is what I recommend that you do, or that you could do. And to me, it felt like not having the word workbook or 29-Day Moon Challenge in the title, to me that felt deceiving. And I'm just like, okay, so I struggled with it and I meditated and I'm like, how can I make this be the most authentic version of this book possible. And then my peeps just said, which is my family of guides, my peeps, they said, just, call the 29-day Moon Challenge your workbook for the, perfect practice. And I'm like, ew, well, that's easy. So once I shifted the title, then everything just fell into place. And everything was like, okay, this is good. So that was the easiest and the most challenging thing. The most challenging, like I said, was the ego part of just saying, just produce a book that someone can open up and jump with. And I'm like, to me, that did not feel ethical. That didn't feel right, because I know that that's not what this process is all about. The most authentic way to do this, to actually come up with a simple Esbat, is to do this challenge. And it's only 29 days. That's it. And yes, people see that, oh my gosh, I have to do this for a whole year. Yes, that sounds a little bit overwhelming. All I ask is just one 29-day moon cycle. That's it. One cycle. You can start anytime you feel right. You could start right now, okay? You could start at the full moon. You can start at the new moon. You can start at the dark moon, whenever, trying it and just experiencing it for one moon cycle is enough. That's it. It's enough. And you will see the power of the moon, and you'll see the power and the little nuances in every single moment and every single day. And you'll see those changes in yourself. You'll see the changes in others. Well, not even changes in others, but you're just going to start seeing their energy, and you're going to start seeing all the little nuances that are influenced by the moon and the pull of the moon. And hands down, that's just, it's amazing what happens when you actually sit long enough, and it's even just a moment. It's not a super long time even, which you can attest to. It really is just taking a moment to go, where's the moon? Let me sit with the energy, and there you go. And everything comes so intuitively, and it's just so, yay. And so it really is a simple process, but I think when people see it, they're like, oh my God, I have to do this for a whole year. I can't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's true. Because sorry if I interrupted you, but
no, that's good. I'm done.
As one of your students, I could definitely attest to that. And nothing came with an instruction manual. It was just like, here's the tools. Here's a very small structure of an idea of what you possibly can do, but you left it open for our creative minds to take over. And so it was more of every class I've taken with you and has been pretty much a test of how far my creative abilities can take me and how in tune I am with myself. And it allowed me to question a lot about how I feel about certain things, which most teachers won't. They let you question about how that person, their process came to this, and this is how it worked for them. It didn't leave you any room to question anything because it was right there. So yeah. I thank you for the style of how you teach, because I feel people actually learn from it.
Well, good. Well, I teach the way that I wanted. Well, yeah, because all the classes that I've taken, I've just had, people say, here, this is how it is. And I'm like, no, it's not for me. And then when I question it, then they're, oh, no, bad student, because, never question the teacher. And that's the first thing I tell you guys, question me, question the heck out of me. Question everything I say, because what works for me may not work for you, And so I teach the way that I wish people would teach me, and that I want to be taught. I really want to be taught in that framework of, here, this is what's worked for me, see if it works for you. So that's how I teach my classes, and yeah.
Well, it's perfect, because that's how I learned very well. So my next question for you, and actually, it's a personal experience, because I got, during the 29-day Moon Challenge and taking that, I got some major aha moments from it when I did the challenge. Ever since, it's been, a year or two already, and I keep doing it every night, and it's almost like my go-to to just kind of disconnect from the chaos of my everyday life. So for me, it has been a huge change in my spiritual journey and enhancement. So my question to you is, can you share with me and the viewers one of your personal experiences with taking the challenge?
Oh, wow. There's been so many. Well, oh geez, this is a lot. I think the most major one, and I think a lot of women can attest to this, because we have, well, some women have a monthly cycle and some don't. But I think for me, because I've always been pretty regular with Aunt Flo coming into town every month, you know, and for a while I was having huge PMS. I mean, huge PMS, where it was like 1 minute I'd be fine and the next minute I wouldn't. And I was just like, woo, I mean, all day, every day. For like the week before Aunt Flo came into town, and I'm like, seriously? And so finally I just said, okay, because a lot of the times when I was doing the, well, and I still do the 29-day Moon Challenge like every single day, but when I was doing it, I was trying to focus more on other stuff than on my cycle. And so finally one time I was sitting there, and the moon looked a little bit red, and I'm going, huh. And I noticed that I was kind of bitchy that day, and I'm just like, you know. And so I started to kind of turn within and note how my symptoms were in relation to the moon. And when I noted that, and actually one of the contributors in the book, Charlie, she talks about her moon cycle as well, or her, you know, Aunt Flo coming in. And when you notice, or okay, so for me, when I started to track my PMS symptoms with the moon, they started to dissipate and they started to lessen. My cramps got less, my flow was more even, and my mood swings were almost non-existent. And I recognized when I was feeling edgy, and I recognized when I was feeling kind of bitchy, and then because I recognized it, they dissipated. And that was huge, huge, because that really did plague me for years. I mean, oh, it was horrible. And I used to take this herbal supplement called Cramp Bark Comfort, and after I did this process, I haven't needed it since, and I actually still have a bottle of it because I had just gotten a new bottle. It's an herbal supplement, and I hate to throw it away because it's, you know, it's herbs. I mean, I guess I could put it back out onto the land and everything. But anyway, so, but I haven't needed it since then, and it's just, and it's probably expired by now. But, but yeah, I mean, that was the most profound thing. Well, there's so many, actually, I can't say that because there's been so many other profound things. But that was a thing as a woman that was really, like, I was so grateful for, because once I recognized the moon phases and where my monthly cycle was and the PMS thing, because literally it was like a week of hell. I'm just, because I didn't know if I was going to be happy, I didn't know if I was going to be sad, I didn't know if I was going to be edgy, or I didn't know if I was going to be irritable, and craving stuff. And that was another thing, is that my food cravings dissipated. I mean, I still have like 2 days where I'm like, ooh, chocolate, but hello, chocolate's yummy, so why not, right? So, but that was a really big thing, because that really impacted my life and everything like that. And so, oh gosh, just to pick one thing is so hard. But that, you know, if, okay, so that's one thing. I could go on for days about all the other aha moments. But that was one of the most profound things for me, was that lessening of my PMS and the lessening of the symptoms and the regulating of my flow. And I mean, that was just such a blessing. Oh my gosh. And just recognizing it. If you haven't heard about the double slit experiment, for all of you out there, Google it or Bing it or Yahoo it, whatever, you know, do a, you know, search engine search about it and watch the videos about the double slit experiment. And that explains why this works. Does that make sense? So the double slit experiment explains why focusing on your monthly cycle in relation to the moon phase helps it to dissipate. So, yay. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation.
No, I definitely agree, because, well, I always say that gay men personally have their own cycles as well. And I always say, just because we are in tune with the divine feminine, and I feel like it is the same thing in a sense. And I think it's important for men to go through, not physically, but spiritually, through that same emotional, like almost like the red tent experience, to go and connect to their feminine energies. Because I also feel like I have my own cycles of my ups and downs, and it's consistent. And I've noticed that the more I ignore them, the more stronger they get, the more resistance they are, and the more I sit and allow it, the clearer and less of them happen. So I just think it's something that we might want to venture.
Absolutely.
Thank you for answering that. And then I'm so excited because I got to be a contributor in the book, and I'm in it. I was like, my face is in there. I'm so excited. Well, thank you for that opportunity.
Oh, sure. Well, and for everybody who hasn't seen, yay! So anyway.
So much fun. Well, thank you. So the next question I actually have for you is, how do you connect with the lunar energy now?
Well, there are some days where I really like to see, okay, well, as far as phases go, I like to see the new moon and like the first week of the moon as it rises in the east. I love to see the full moon in the west as it's setting. Oh, that is my favorite. That's my absolute favorite. So probably about, I prefer to see the moon probably 3 weeks out of the 29 days in the western sky. That's my favorite. I really like the energy of the setting moon. To me, there's just something very cathartic about it, and very it's almost hard to describe because it's got such this really intense feeling for me. It's this intense feeling of grace and of release and of surrender and peace, and yeah, there's just nothing else like it for me. But yeah, so if I choose to actively say, okay, this is when I mean, but it's just kind of second nature for me though. But I mean, I connect with the moon every single day. But and like I said, typically for the first week, it's in the eastern sky. For the last 3 weeks, it's in the western sky, because that's just how I prefer to feel the energies of the moon. Now, of course, I do, anytime that I'm outside, like last night, I was out watching a softball game, and I actually turned and I'm like, okay. And I stopped and I looked, because I knew, and I can usually sense, just depending on where I'm at, where the moon is, and I'll be like, look at the moon, and people are like, where? And I'm like, it's over here. So, but yeah, I mean, I do it every day, and it, to me, it's just second nature, because I've been doing this for so long. But I prefer to see the moon in the eastern sky for the first week, and then in the western sky for the last 3 weeks of the cycle. So, but that's my favorite.
You got me excited. I want to go outside. Well, it's daytime, but
it's cloudy here today, but that's okay. Well, it's not going to be up for a while though.
Yeah. So my next question is that on last week's Fearless Friday video, you explained very beautifully the difference between your book, The Simple Esbat, and your new book, The 29-Day Moon Challenge, and how one is, like you mentioned earlier, a given destination, and how the other is an actual journey. So if you don't mind kind of sharing your thoughts again on that view.
Sure. So I'm really big into experiencing the journey and not worrying so much about the destination, because many times when we reach a destination, if we're not really clear about why we're going there, we could finally get to a destination and go, well, shit, that's it? Ugh. And feeling a little bit of lackluster. And when people do that, they may feel depressed or pissed, or they may even fake being happy of going, yay, okay, woo, And many times when I would do public rituals, I would see people just kind of going through the motions and not really feeling that joy or that energy of the celebration for the Sabbats. And because I think a lot of people, when they reach a destination, they think it's going to be some grand event. Well, it can be if you put in the work for it, and if you actually are mindful of the destination in going there, or if you're mindful in the journey getting to the destination. And so the Simple Esbat is a destination book where you open it and you say, okay, for this Sabbat, I can do this, this, and this. And even though I say that it's a destination book, it's still a little bit of a journey, because I give you all these jumping off points of saying, okay, these are some ideas that you can do for this particular Sabbat. And so someone can go, oh, I want to do this, and I want to do this, and I want to do this. And what that instills is this little piece of anticipation or excitement of going, yay, I want to do this, and I want to do this, and I want to do this, and they get excited about it. And that excitement is what they want to feel typically when they do these particular activities. So in looking at the book and in reading the book and in searching the book out for certain sabbats or different things that they can do, that is a type of kind of mini journey, if you will. But yes, that book really is a destination book because I give you recommendations and ideas of things to do, so you don't really have to sit there and say, what's the meaning of the season? What are the things that I naturally see in my area at this time? What are events that are going on? What are colors that I see in nature? What are natural herbs that are growing that I could pick, that I could use in my celebration? What are the deities that I feel with me at this time? Instead of having you go through that journey, I just say, here you go, here's a list of things that you could possibly work with and do. And the 29-day Moon Challenge really is about that journey. It's giving you the framework of, okay, this is what you could do for this 29-day Moon Challenge. And in the chapter called the 29-day Moon Challenge, in a nutshell, I cover all the questions, well, the most typical questions that I get about this challenge. And so that kind of gives people like a little jumping off point of saying, okay, so this is why I might want to do it, this is what's involved, this is when I can do it, this is where I can do it, and these are the different steps. And there really is only 4 steps, The 4 steps are find out when the moon rises and sets, commit to doing it for 29 days, pick a day, and then do it. I mean, that's it. And it's such a simple journey. It really is that simple commitment of saying, I'm just going to do this every day. And it is so simple. And so in allowing yourself to go through the journey and allowing yourself to figure out what you really want to get out of the journey, what you're hoping to feel when you get to the destination. The destination is at the end of, and I'll show you, at the end of each, okay, so how I set this up, for those of you who don't have the book, at the beginning of each chapter, I call it first lunation, second lunation. So basically the first month that you're going to try this. So the first page of each chapter, you fill this out at the end of that chapter for you. Okay, so you turn the page, day 1 attributes. You sit with the moon, and one of the things, this is hindsight's 2020, and I was thinking about this as I was going to do as I was publishing, and one of the things that I think that I probably should have put in there was a spot for you to write down when the moon was rising and setting for that day, for each particular day, but that's okay. I didn't want it to be too cluttered because, I don't like having a lot of extra stuff in here. But anyway, so each day you sit with it, and it's just a tiny little bit that you fill out each day, and that's just a little mini journey, is figure out when the moon rises, when it sets, and when you want to choose to go and see it that day or sit with it that day. And even if you can't see it, you can sit with it with the intention of just feeling the energy of yourself and feeling the energy of others, and noticing the energy of others and noticing the energy of yourself in relation to others and all that jazz, which makes you want to sing and all that jazz. Anyway.
Don't get me started on show tunes.
I know, right? But it really is a journey, and one of the things that I mentioned in my Fearless Friday video is there's 2 ways to get to any destination, and of course this is just metaphorical, is you can have a helicopter drop you into the destination, or you could take the 2-hour hike. I mean, it's up to you, and for some people being dropped in is a journey in and of itself, and some people taking the 2-hour hike is a journey in and of itself. And so if you want that helicopter ride where you get plopped into the destination, then this book isn't for you. Then any other Esbat book is for you out there. If you want to take that 2-hour journey to get to that destination, then this book is for you. If you really want those aha moments, if you really want that perfect Esbat, and it's such a simple process. If you really want your Esbats to pack a punch for you, without a doubt, any time that you do any type of work on an Esbat, there will be no doubt in your work then this is the book for you. So that's the difference between the Simple Esbat and the 29-day Moon Challenge. Is really that the Simple Esbat is kind of like taking that helicopter ride and going bloop and getting plopped into your Esbat practice and say, here you go, these are ideas that you can do. Whereas the 29-day Moon Challenge, it's taking that journey, the slower process, but also in taking the slower process, well, I hate to say slow because it's such a fast process when you actually do it. I mean, you know what I mean? And that's just it. And that's something that I've been talking about for years, is the easiest way to learn this path is to do it slowly. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people read through book after book after book after book after book and still feel like they're missing something in their practice. And this really is that key to give you, to just unlock all those doors. So even though the book is set up for a year, really one 29-day challenge, or even just one day, or even, you know, doing it for a week, you'll be able to see all these aha moments like, holy shit, I can't believe I missed this all this time, you know. So that's really the, you know, like the difference between the two books is that destination versus the journey. But even still in the Simple Esbat, it is kind of like a little mini journey as you're reading through each of the chapters, because there's all these different ideas, and any idea that sparks your excitement and your interest, that's kind of a mini journey, because that tells you how you really truly want to feel when you're doing that particular Esbat. So, but have in mind, regardless of what book you choose for an Esbat, have in mind what you really truly want to feel when you're doing that Esbat. Even any Esbat, well, actually anything in life. Why are you choosing to do what you're doing? Why are you choosing to do anything? What are you hoping to feel when you do it? And connecting those feelings, because anytime that you do spell work, anytime that you do a prayer, your intention is key. If you're doing it just to go through the motions, it's not going to work. Well, it may not work, I should say. It may not work. If you're doing it and you have your conscious intention there, you're present with your words, and you allow yourself to feel that energy and to feel the result of it, feel that final destination that you really want. This is, okay, this is what I want to manifest, and I'm feeling it, and I'm seeing it, and I'm visualizing it, and you really have no doubts whatsoever, then 99% of the time it's going to work. But it's that feeling that's attached to it. And so when you go into something, be sure that you know why you're choosing to do it. What feeling are you hoping to get out of it? And that's just the key in anything in life. Why are you choosing to do it? Why? And if you get clear in the why, and that goes back to questioning everything. Question everything. Why am I doing this? So, you know, yeah, so regardless of what book you choose, whether it's mine, which is the journey book, or any other book that's already pre-written for you that's a destination book, ask yourself before you do any Esbat, why are you choosing to celebrate that Esbat? Are you choosing to do the Esbat because someone tells you you need to do it at this space, or because you really want to do it? And then if you want to do it, what are you hoping to get out of it? What are you hoping to feel when you are doing this? Before, during, and after, what are you hoping to feel when you're doing that particular Esbat? So, yay. I hope I answered the question. I know that was kind of
long-winded, well, like I said, as one of your students, that was probably one of the biggest influential things you've taught me, was to question why. Why am I even taking this course? Why did I seek you? You know, why did I want to take this challenge? And it's just being very specific and honest to you know, to yourself of why do you want to be certified for this, or why do you want, you know, it's important. And then for me, it was just I just want to feel something, and I wanted to have this experience of doing the 29-day Moon Challenge as a retreat for myself, because I used to not tend to do stuff for myself. So this was a mini vacation where I'm going to sit outside and just being quiet. And the first part of when I went back on my notes on my personal journal, it was all ego-based. I was like, this is boring. Nothing's happening. I was like, I mean, it's cold. Like, it was just kind of stuff. And then, like, after the first week, it was just like, you know, I was able to clear my thought about this. I was like, I think I know what to do about this now. You know, I got the answers I needed for this. And then after that, it was more of nothing, no notes. It was just, this was awesome. Thank you. It was gratitude. So it's weird. I mean, experiences are different, and all the contributors that you had on this book, their stories so different. none of it is the same. It's so different, and I think it's just the moon's effect on everybody. It's different. So it's an experience itself just to read everyone else's experiences.
Yes.
But to have something that, like this book, that's, you know, hard, well, it's bound, it's a book, and it's your journey documented, and it's pretty powerful. It's a powerful tool. So, Flora, my next question for you will be, where can readers buy the 29-Day Moon Challenge?
It's on Amazon, and it's also on Kindle as well. So, yay, I'm really excited. And of course, this is a journal. So I'm not sure, because I'm not a Kindle user at present. So I'm not sure if you can actually write notes in Kindle. Are you able to?
On my, well, I have Nook. On my Nook, I'm able to add little post-its. I could write little highlights and notes. So on my Nook, I can. So I'm assuming Kindle, you might be able to do the same.
Oh, good. Okay, awesome. That's exciting. But yes, it's on Amazon.com, and it's also in, you know, Kindle version as well as paperback. So
that's exciting. So the next question is, what's next for Flora Sage? What new adventures are you getting yourself into?
Lots. Well, currently I'm turning my free e-kit into a little booklet, because a lot of people have asked for that. A lot of people have said, you know, I think your free e-kit was just fabulous, and I want to share it with someone, but they're, you know, not on the computer, or they don't have time to do this, and I just want to give them this book. And so what I'm doing is I had my free e-kit on my website, which is florasage.com. And you can sign up for the free e-kit. The e-kit has 3 parts to it. It's got my personal story of why I do what I do. And it also has a step 1 in becoming fearless, which is questioning everything. And so I kind of give you a jumping off point for that. And then also I give you a body scan meditation, which you're very familiar with, because we do that every Wednesday in the What's Up Wednesday call at the Inner Circle. And so I'm currently working on that. It's going to probably be about 50 pages. It's just like a short, small booklet. And that way, and it's only going to be for a few dollars. I'm just going to sell it at cost, so that anyone who wants to get it, to share it with their friends and family, they can. And I really want to make it reasonable. So that's what I'm working on currently. I'm also working on finishing up several of my meditation CDs. I do have singles out for my mini meditations for the busy lifestyle, and they're all going to be 10 minutes or less. And I do have one of those, I do have a single from that album called Oneness, and so that album should be out in June. And I'm also working on Journey Through the Chakras CD, and that will be out by the end of the year. And I'm teaching my level 2 class and my level 1 class, so there's a lot of things that I'm currently working on. But another thing that I'm going to be working on that will be out next spring is an actual, it's going to be Fearlessly Inspired, tentatively is the title of the book, and which is going to be, again, a reiteration of my story of why I do what I do, and then also the steps that I go through when I feel fear coming in and when I want to conquer that fear, and it's how I live my life fearlessly inspired. So it's, and I do have a program called, you know, like the Fearlessly Inspired 12-week program, and it's 12 steps. There's 4 main steps that kind of do the surface level, but even still, each time that you repeat that, you get deeper and deeper in the process. And then all the other steps really dig deep. And so I'm working on that book presently as well, and I'm giving myself a lot of time to work with it. I'm giving myself a year to really flesh out all the stuff, all the fluff, because you know I don't like fluff, but I want to make it a really usable book. And for those of you who have been through the 12-week Fearlessly Inspired program, have encouraged me, oh, Flora, this needs to be a book. So I've listened to what you've asked, and I'm working on that currently. So I've got a lot of little stuff going on, but yeah, so that's what's coming over in the next year, is several meditation CDs, and of course my level 2 classes and my level 1 class, and that book, Fearlessly Inspired.
I'm so excited. Your meditations, well, I first found them on YouTube, and I found my animal totem through them. I found how to unblock my chakras through them. I mean, I just can't wait. That's very exciting.
Thank you.
Well,
and you know, all the meditations, all the things that I produce, I use myself, and I use them on myself first, and if they work for me, then I publish them. Then I usually record them, because I usually like, oh, I really need a meditation for this, and so I'll either record it on my phone or I'll record it real quick on my software and then put it on my phone, and I'll put my headphones in, and I'll be like meditating and listening to it or whatever, and then, or I'll go through a process like my Shift Your Money Mindset e-kit. That was something that I've been working through for several years, and literally changing your money story helps you to shift. And then, I mean, and all these changes happen. It's like, wow, and then they stick and they stay, and these changes are continuous. And so, you know, everything that I put out there, I use myself. I don't just produce something for $1. I mean, and anyone that knows me personally can attest to this. I'm constantly working on my stuff. And I actually had someone one time say, well, so you're always looking for the bad in yourself. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I just know how I can improve, and I want to be the best version of myself possible. And so one of my favorite meditation CDs that I have is the Sacred Sanctuary CD. Those are my favorite. That's so intense.
Favorite.
Well, and what happened when I did that, when I created that CD, is because many times I'll lay down or I'll sit down and I just walk myself through a meditation. And you know, what happened when I was recording that CD is, I normally when I do like a meditation, I'll do an outline or something, but all I did was just have the intro and outro where I, you know, like walked us through the beginning breathing stages, and then I closed my eyes and I just spoke. And then I rendered it and put it on my phone and listened to it, and I just did such deep journey work when I did that, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. And that by far has been one of my favorite meditation CDs to do, and I'm actually going to be releasing all of my digital CDs and as hard CDs. I'm doing it through CreateSpace, and because the Sacred Sanctuary CD is so long, I will have to release it as 2 CDs, as disc 1 and disc 2, but that by far is my favorite. But yeah, because a lot of people have asked me how I come up with my products and all the things that I sell, and I just, well, the stuff that I use myself is what I release. And so, but yeah, because I know a lot of people ask that question, so.
That's exciting. Because I know when we do the body scan meditation on every Wednesday and What's Up Wednesday, it really is an out-of-body experience. It really is. You kind of look at yourself from a different perspective and figure out, you know, what's going on in your body, what changes do you feel, any aches or pains. And sometimes I feel guided not to do it, and I have to honor it. And I think that's one of the great parts of it, is that you kind of allow yourself to either, whether you want to connect with yourself that way and figure out what's wrong. And so, like I said, that's an out-of-body experience. And then with the 2019 Moon Challenge, it's an inner-body experience, because I really feel like you go within and you kind of see what's going on internally.
Yep.
So, exciting!
Yay!
Well, a lot of questions.
Well, okay, so I have a question for you then. Okay, so someone who's watching this, and someone who, I recently, and I said this on my Fearless Friday video, I recently got a 1-star rating on this book, which I actually found fabulous, because, you know, no author wants to see a 1-star rating. But that was because that person, I really felt that they wanted that destination book. They did not want a journey book. They wanted a destination. They wanted someone to say, here, this is what I want you to do. So for those people, for those 1-starers out there, for those people who are looking at this going, oh my gosh, I can't believe that Flora published a workbook instead of an actual proper book, what do you have to say to them about doing this challenge? What would your advice be to those people who are going, I can't believe she did a workbook, I can't believe she didn't actually do a destination book? What would your advice be to those people?
Well, when I actually read that, the 1-star comment, and when I finished reading, I was like, this is perfect. This is perfect, because it's exactly what the energy I was picking up was, that someone was just kind of wants something that is handed to them. And I feel like this is not something that's handed to you. It's not one of those things where you cheat yourself out of this experience, because it's one of those things that it is life-changing. Because for me, it became a daily habit of whenever I see the moon, it becomes a gratitude and a humbling effect that I wouldn't have if I didn't allow myself personally to sit with it. And like I mentioned before, I mean, what's a workbook? I mean, it's in the title. It's one of those. It's in the title. It's work. You have to put work involved. It's an investment into your spiritual future and well-being. It's not a book you follow and just take notes and copy what the author did. This is something that is very rare for someone to be offered, is an empty silver platter that says you fill it with whatever you want, fill it that works with you and what resonates with you, instead of it being filled with stuff that you have to now go through and pick out things that you want. So this allowed me to be honest with myself on what am I doing out here? What is it that I want from this experience? And having myself write down, like I said, the first weeks of doing it wasn't great. It was me battling my ego, and for me, it was the strongest battle I ever had to do, was see myself, walk myself out of that situation of that I want to learn something. And every night I would say to myself, what am I doing out here? Like what am I doing out here? I'm like, it's cold. I feel like I'm not learning anything. But once I was able to quiet down and just stop that resistance and just be like, you know what, let's just sit here and I won't think of anything. And then I would just stare at the moon. And for me, it was just that it was a bonding experience. And then before I knew it, I was entranced in a meditation without even knowing it. And it was just me communicating with someone that isn't from this world, is part of my spiritual team, as I like to call them. And it's something I won't ever forget. It was the most rawest experience. I was blessed and given my spiritual names during these meditations of Silvermoon through these meditations, which I get to share on this book. But for people that are not willing to work in order for them to get some kind of spirit and unique designed, tailored for them by them spiritual practice, then this isn't the book for you, because it does require you to work and put in the time and effort. Because there's a lot of books, like you said, that the experiences are handed to you and you could go ahead and take them. But I mean, it's a good question to ask yourself, what am I going to learn from someone else's experience if I don't really resonate it? And like you said, it's one of those things where you just kind of fake happiness or fake the experience. So this book has definitely helped me and the contributors and other students in your class to really identify the energy of the lunar and how the effects have on the specific person and your own cycles, and it allows your connection to everyone else's spiritual team to be a lot more clear and stronger, because it eliminates ego. And so what I would say to the 1-stars is just try it. Put ego aside, just try it. It's only 29 days. It's not like it's in a whole year. It's just 29 days. And just see. And like you said, you could even try it for a week and see how that is. You might even just like it that you got the time to escape for a moment. But for me, it was life-changing, and now it's second nature. And like you said, I look one way and I always find the moon. I always feel her somewhere, and I turn and she's there. And so I don't do the full Esbat thing, but I honor that time I shared with her, and I take a moment to say my prayers and gratitude whenever I find the moon, or I should say whenever the moon finds me.
Well, I'm glad that you said, oh my gosh, you actually said several gems of wisdom, but you said I don't actually do the whole full Esbat thing. What is a full Esbat thing?
I think it's different for a lot of people.
Right.
Because even when it's like a
go ahead.
When it's a Sabbat, I don't always have time to do a full ritual. I do it all in my head, and I feel that is the same because I took the time to honor what the Sabbat means to me. With the Esbat, with the book, which is funny, is that I would time it of how long I was there. Some nights I was there for 5 to 10 minutes. Sometimes it was 30 to 45 minutes, depending on where I was and how my day went. And so I guess there really isn't an Esbat thing. It just kind of is what you want it to be, what works for your life. It's a part of tailoring it to work with you, so it doesn't feel like a burden or I have to do this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't necessarily feel like you have to be necessarily outside. It could be something where you just could be inside and connect with the lunar energy that is around us.
Yep. Well, and then also, you know, so the reason why that I brought that up, because you said that, is all the other books that we've read back in the day, they have these proper rituals for each Sabbat. This is what you have to do. This is what you have to do. And for Esbats, this is what you have to do. You have to do the quarters. You have to do the circle. You have to do all this other stuff. And that's just a recommendation from all those other authors. What you did for your Esbat is your perfect Esbat. That is your Esbat thing. You know what I mean? And the same thing for Sabbats is, many times for Sabbats, my kids and I don't do ritual. We just go out and we'll play in the, you know, wherever, you know, we'll go to the farmer's market. That's celebrating that Sabbat, you know. It's doing those things naturally in nature. You don't have to do it in a circle. It's, you know, that's just the same thing as you don't have to go to church to connect with God. God's everywhere, you know, and that's just why, you know, like the other day we actually went to my niece's first communion. And my kids afterwards just said, oh, I'm so glad that we don't have to go to church to connect with nature. It was so funny, but it's just like, because I've taught them that everything is sacred. Everything is sacred. And, you know, and that's the one thing that I wish people that celebrate earth-based spiritualism would really come to terms with, is you don't have to do a circle or a ritual or spell work or whatever to have that beautiful practice. If sitting outside having your morning coffee is your morning routine and your morning ritual, then that can be your special, you know, thing that you do for an Esbat or for a Sabbat. It doesn't have to be this grandiose event with robes and incense and bells and athames and everything else. It can be as simple as possible or as elaborate as possible. But don't get down on yourself if what you do is not in alignment with what's in some random book. If it feels right for you, don't get down on yourself. I mean, that's the beauty of this practice, is it's all earth-based. It's you and the earth and the energy of it. And if the energy feels perfect for you, that's exactly what you need to do. You know, and if it changes month to month, moment to moment, good, because then you're going with the flow. You're going with the energy that's present at the moment. And don't feel guilty about it, and don't feel all wrapped up in, oh shit, I'm not doing this right, so it's not going to work, and what's right for you may not be right for someone else, and vice versa. So I'm really glad that you said that. I'm really glad that you also said that, you know, cheating yourself out of that investment. You know, really, when you invest the time, oh, you really are handed that silver platter that's empty, that's here, populate it with stuff that rocks for you, you know. And I believe I felt cheated when I tried to do a ritual using a book that was pre-done for me, because I felt, shit, I just wasted all that time and I didn't feel anything, you know. And then I said, screw it, you know, and did my own thing, and I felt like 1,000 times more things, 1,000 times more satisfied and more peaceful in my practice. And you really, in my opinion, and I know that I really hate to use absolutes, but you know, you really are cheating yourself out of that perfect practice if you do someone else's pre-written formula for you, you know. And I know that in the Simple Esbat, I have a pre-written formula for a circle. I do an elaborate or long circle or a full circle and then a simple circle. But even in the book, I say this is just a recommendation. If you don't like something, change it or don't even do it at all, you know. Because I do realize that there are people who really like to do that circle format. And, you know, for a long time, my kids and I did the circle format, and then we always found ourselves deviating from it. And, you know, be comfortable with that deviation. Be comfortable with going with the flow and going with your own, you know, natural energy level. And just like you said, it really is an investment in you and your practice. Yay! Well, thank you for that, Eric.
No, thank you for your time. Yeah, for those that are interested in buying Flora's book, The 29-Day Moon Challenge, I know it's available now on Kindle and Amazon.
Yep.
And hopefully it'll be available everywhere else. I highly recommend it. I highly recommend it. It definitely changed my practice, and I feel like it made it a little bit more clear on what kind of practice I wanted. And so I highly recommend it. So thank you so much, Flora, for being with me today and all the viewers.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate you. And all of you who are watching.
Thank you so much.
Bye.